What's up, YouTube? Today I got a nice little topic for y'all. Didn't want to leave the area too far. So this video is gonna be entitled "Just Sex versus Great Sex." See, most pickup artists, most dating coaches wanted to see how hot it was. As my uncle's outside sitting down, so he took my little seat where we have some shade, so I got to do the video in the kitchen. These is from 2 years ago, where I would come back there in the kitchen and sit down and try to make a very fun, interesting video. Now, you might say we're gonna call it Sex and Dating Self-Improvement, Just Sex versus Great Sex. And we're going to ask those old age questions. What is just sex? What is great sex? Now, they're both sex, but when I say just sex, people are going to say, what is just sex? And if I say great sex, then people are going to ask, what's just great sex? So I have to actually explain the definition terms, who they're for, why they're for these people, and what's the purpose of them. It's another video of me saying alpha male you know what and beta male bucks. So it's like that concept again, but now we're throwing in sex. We're keeping it PG. There will be no women bashing in this video, so women get a pass. We're not really talking about women getting thrown under the bus. We're talking about men who brag about scoring, but then when you ask them what type of sex they had, just sex or great sex, they just want to say sex, so sex becomes just sex when they brag about it. So that's actually kind of funny if you think about it. Now, just sex is for beta males. I'm gonna tell you why. Cause when they brag to you about scoring, it's with an average or below average woman. Let's say the woman is between 200 to 260 pounds. Like she's 260, fat and obese, right? And let's say as soon as he score, might be 3 days later or a week later, you're in the middle of a conversation and he just bring up in the middle of a conversation. You could be eating lunch or dinner. You could be taking a shower. You could be driving in a car, and right in the middle of a conversation, he'll bring up, oh, by the way, I had sex. And he won't even describe or go into detail what he did. But he'll brag to you that he scored. And when you ask him a second and a third time, what did you do? Again, he just wants to brag. And the purpose of him bragging is for male respect, for male approval, so you can sign off on he got a home run in baseball, right? And when you find out from other people that the girl he scored with was just average or below average and he didn't do nothing worth talking about or spectacular, then you start to lose respect for that man, because you're like, I asked you a total of 5 times, what did you do that was so gwinge-worthy that you had to talk about it? And he don't want to talk about it because he know if he talk about it, you're going to discredit it. You're going to say, I'm gonna say, nah, you ain't getting no credit for that. And then they get mad because you're telling them what the rules are. So just sex in one form or fashion is for beta males. You know how they say 80% of the women are chasing 20% of the men? That would be confirmed as great sex. Just sex would be for 80% of men that are average and below average. And when you do, I'm talking about when you do get just sex, that's just one level of sex. Great sex is what everybody wants, but it's hard to attain. And it's hard to attain for specific reasons. Most of the guys who complain that they can't score 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, that is because these guys are lazy. A lot of these guys don't like to go to the gym. They don't like to do cardio. They don't like to do weight training. They don't want to buy no new clothes, no new shoes. They don't want to get the fresh shave, the fresh haircut. They don't want to do nothing. They're just lazy. and you have to scratch your head. You have to scratch your head. Yeah, I got to clean my room up. But you scratch your head and you start to wonder, how you going to get some play from 80% of women and you don't even do any level of self-improvement whatsoever? These guys don't self-improve themselves. They'll 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 talk about self-improvement, but they won't do self-improvement. And just sex is for guys that are beta males. You know how they say the beta male provider? Well, when it's 10, 15, 20 years later, extreme cases 25 to 30 years later, these guys will all of a sudden self-improve themselves, right? But then the problem is not that they self-improve themselves, and the problem is not that they become the best version of themselves. Their problem is they're getting just sex because the woman had just hit the wall at stage 1 or at stage 2 of hitting the wall. There's 2 walls that a woman hits. The first wall comes at age 30. So between age 30 to age 40, that's the first wall. The second wall is between age 50 to age 60 going on 70. That's the second wall. So there's 2 walls that a woman hit. And, you know, she starts to menopause. She gets tired real fast. She doesn't have as much energy. And she's not in the mood. And because these guys are beta males and because they had to sit back and wait 10, 15, 20 years later, they have to beg and plead the woman to have just sex. And these women don't want to destroy the guy's ego, don't want to hurt the guy's feelings. So most women will lie and say, yeah, you're a 7 out of 10. When in reality, I know, and you know, and the Undertaker know, it's more like you're 3 out of 4, 4 out of, it's like you're 3 out of 10 or 4 out of 10. Maybe a 5 out of 10. She'll just lie and say you're a 7 out of 10. But when she was with the alpha males, their rating was 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. See the difference, right? And most pickup artists and dating coaches in their 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour pickup artist seminars who charge anywhere from $300, $500, or $1,000 or $3,000, 90% of the time they're never going to tell you this information. When they keep saying you're going to get women between the ages of 35 to 40, what they don't want to tell you is you're getting women that you couldn't get 10, 15, 20 years ago. Extreme cases 25 to 30 years ago. You're getting women that you try to get your Mac to when you was in high school and college. Remember those days where you got rejected? The girl told me, talk to me when you get a house and a car. Talk to me when you're making that big baller money. Talk to me when you get into the NBA or the NFL. Remember those days? I know all y'all can relate to that. I know I can. Well, when the pickup artists keep saying your options open up at 35, 40, you're thinking you're going to get hot, attractive women from the age of 18 to 27. And I say age 18 to 29 to be nice. You're not getting that. You're getting the complete opposite of that. You're getting women the same age as you and presumably older. And then you start to wonder, was anything the pickup artist and dating coach said was true? They told you something that was true, but what they didn't tell you was you're getting women that you couldn't get from before. The ones that you want, you're not going to get entirely unless you have looks, money, and status. Or if you do self-improvement, or if you get a passport and go to another country. That's why I say don't trust pickup artists and dating coaches. Now, when I say just sex means you just, you just take your clothes off and use your imagination. Great sex, on the other hand, would be described as a sporting event. Like if it's a basketball player, that's the NBA Finals. If it's the Super Bowl, if it's a football player, it's the Super Bowl. If it's a baseball player, it's the World Series. If it's a soccer player, it's the Soccer World Cup. If it's the hockey player, it's the Stanley World Cup. If it's professional wrestlers, boxers or mixed martial arts, it would be considered WrestleMania. If you think of all these sporting events, right? Those sporting events is where you got to win a championship to be considered great. You win the NBA Finals, you're a great basketball player. You win the Super Bowl, you're a great football player. You win the World Series, you must be a great baseball player. Greats win the championships. You look at Michael Jordan. 6 NBA championships, 2 three-peats, undefeated in the NBA Finals. No basketball player since has ever been able to reach the level of Michael Jordan. So many men have tried, so many men have failed. Kobe got real close. Shaq have tried. Tim Duncan have tried. LeBron James have tried. But nobody really got close like Kobe Bryant have. And even though Kobe got close, Kobe doesn't have 6, and Kobe ain't undefeated in the finals. He's won more and lost less, but my point is, nobody can reach the level of a great Michael Jordan. So that's why I said great sex would be considered if it's a basketball player, the NBA Finals. If it's a football player, it would be considered the Super Bowl. If it's the World Series, it would be baseball. If it's the Soccer World Cup, or if it's soccer, it's the Soccer World Cup. If you're a hockey player, it's the Stanley World Cup. And then some guys might say it was like WrestleMania if you're a boxer, a wrestler, or a martial artist. Not even the National College Championship game. That's for doctors, lawyers, police, firefighters, and everyone else, right? So, what is Just Sex? Just Sex would be considered as one of those college championship games that are not televised. They're not shown on television. They're not shown on cable. They're probably talked about on radio, or they might briefly mention it on radio. That's Just Sex. It was talked about very briefly, and then it was an afterthought. And when these guys start bragging to the alpha males will identify and ask, what did you do that was cringe-worthy for you to talk about? And these guys will never want to tell you what they did. They just want to get you to respect them and give them male approval, because that's what they're seeking in the first place. And the whole entire time you're asking, tell me what you did, they don't want to tell. So then you have to get 5 other people to tell you the information, and then you find out it was just sex. Oh, so you didn't really do anything that was worth talking about. You didn't knock it out of the park, so it ain't no World Series. You didn't kick a field goal, so it ain't the Soccer World Cup. You didn't block the hockey puck, so it ain't the Stanley World Cup. You ain't made no free throws at the free throw line to win the championship, so it ain't the NBA Finals. And you did not run into the end zone for a touchdown, so it's not the Super Bowl. I'm using sports analogies to explain the phenomenon of what just sex is and great sex. So when I put sex and dating, self-improvement, just sex versus great sex, this should intrigue you. This should get you thinking, why did I call it the title of that? So I'm using sports to explain it. Now, before someone say, when do we get to blame women? Okay, it's not a woman bashing video. It's me trying to explain that just sex is for beta males, great sex is for alpha males. Now, is there times where an beta male can go from just sex to great sex? The answer is yes. Problem is, you got to put in the hard work and the dedication. Most of these guys don't want to go to no gym and self-improve themselves. I'm just trying to explain to you. Another way you can look at it is if you get put on an airplane and they put you in a desert, the middle of nowhere, and they tell you that in order for you to find a base that has food and water, a military base, it might take you 20, 30 miles and maybe a day, maybe 2 or 3 days to find that military base. And then you are starved to death, you're thirsty, and you're eating and drinking food because it's taken you 20 to 30 miles, 2 or 3 days in the desert to find this military base. That would be considered just sex. Great sex is nobody has to tell you anything. You know what to do. You know how to rise to the occasion. So that's why I said great sex would be described that if it's basketball, it's the NBA Finals. If it's professional football, it's the Super Bowl. If it's professional baseball, it's the World Series. If it's soccer, it's the Soccer World Cup. If it's hockey, it's the Stanley World Cup. If it's professional wrestling, mixed martial arts, or boxing, it's WrestleMania. That means it's the best. It's the greatest show of one of a lifetime, right? It's not even. And if you're a doctor or a lawyer or a police officer or a firefighter, it would be considered college, a national challenge, a national college championship game. And most men don't even get what I just described. So what I just described, that's great sex. That's why I'm taking the analogy of sports and trying to explain what great sex is. Great sex is like the NBA Finals. It's like that. Just sex is just a guy picks up a phone and starts bragging to the high value man, the alpha male. I finally scored. And when they can't even tell you what it is that they did, you sum it up as it's just sex. You get a lot of men who do this. And they don't realize that it took them 10, 15, 20 years to get to that level. Extreme cases, 25 to 30 years. And then when these men find out that that was just sex, then they get mad, they get upset. And that's when you hear these nice guys, these good guys, these beta males say, I want what the alpha male got. The alpha male got the girl when she was a freak, and I get just sex. And what these guys fail to understand is the alpha males was able to figure out how to get just great sex. They figured it out, and that's why they keep getting great results. And the nice guys, the good guys, the beta males, the reason why they got just sex is because once the woman hit the wall, she figured that's what you were supposed to do. But most of these nice guys and good guys don't want to take a look in the mirror. That part of the problem is it's the looks. It's the way you look. And if a woman was to give you great sex as a nice guy, as a good guy, then you had to do something to say, okay, he's so great, I'll give it, I'll help him. You know how they say that a woman will break all the rules for an alpha male, but she'll make all the rules for an beta male. So if a woman is making rules for nice guys and good guys, oh yeah, you're gonna get sex, all right, just sex. You're not getting the NBA Finals, the Super Bowl, the World Series, the Soccer World Cup, the Stanley World Cup. You're not going to get WrestleMania. You're not even going to get the college football championship. You're not even going to get that. That's reserved for alpha males. If you're in a beta male, you just get what most men get, just sex. And most of the time, the woman will lie to not hurt your ego or destroy your confidence and say you're a 7 out of 10 when I know and you know and the Undertaker know it's more like a 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10, maybe 5 out of 10. I'm just trying to explain to you. And you see, the pickup artists and the dating coaches, they know this information, but they're not going to tell it to you because to tell it to you would defeat the purpose of you going to those seminars. And you see, you have to understand when they say separate the men from the boys, this is exactly what they mean. It takes a while for you to understand this information. It takes a while to digest the pain and the truth that there's just sex and then there's sex. Great sex means everyone's talking about it. You know, you go on Twitter, Facebook, you go to work, you go to the gym. News travels fast if it's great sex. If it's just sex, nobody really cares. Nobody really talks about it. Because then what people find out is, so if it took you 10, 15, 20 years, oh, it's just sex. You ain't done nothing. You ain't accomplished nothing. She just felt bad and felt sorry for you and just gave it to you. Where if it's great sex, you didn't have to go through that heavy burden of it's 10, 15, 20 years later, extreme cases, 25 to 30 years later. See, I made this video because there's some confusion on the internet. People be going, I want what the alpha male got. I want the woman when she was a freak. And a lot of times the beta male don't realize that had they figured this out in the beginning, it would have not taken this long. Now, if you could blame women, it would have to be that she could turn into the freak, but then again, there would have to be some reasons on why she would want to turn into the freak. You would have to give her some reasons. And most of the time, most nice guys, most good guys, they can't come up with a good reason. They just want it because they figure, well, the alpha male got it. And then the alpha male has to explain to the beta males that are nice guys and good guys, you got to do something to get that. So when you hear them say she breaks all the rules for the alpha male and then turns around and makes all the rules for the beta male, well, you could sum that up. If there are rules being made, it's just sex. You just getting what most guys get. If her breaking all the rules, then it's going to be great sex. That's how you should describe this as sports. You got your starting five in a basketball game, right? And then you have all the players that are on the bench. Same thing. When those guys get playing time, they brag about, I got to play 5 minutes in the NBA Finals. I played 10 minutes in the NBA Finals. Yeah, but Michael Jordan plays the whole game. Kobe Bryant plays the whole entire game. And you get players that you give them one chance to come off the bench and play 5 or 10 minutes, and they think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. So these guys, when you give them something, they think they've done something great, when the reality is, how could you have done something great if it took you 10, 15, 20 years later to get it, or extreme cases, 25 to 30 years to get it? Like, if you put me in the situation, right? Let's say, hypothetically, I score, right? And let's say it's a girl that's 300 pounds. Well, I'm not picking the phone up and I'm not calling none of my friends in the wolf pack to say, hey, I scored. Because as soon as they ask me, was it just sex or was it great sex? And if it takes me almost 10 minutes to answer their question, they don't need me to give them the answer. They'll figure out, it's just sex. It took him almost 10 years to get that. They ain't nothing. You ain't getting no credit for that. Now, if I say I hooked up with a big-time celebrity actress, then they might go, oh, don't nobody in the Wolfpack ever accomplish nothing like that. You see how there's another way I could spin this? So I'm trying to help you guys out by understanding that if you don't self-improve yourself, that's what's going to happen. If you say, what if I do self-improve myself and the end result is that, then it could either be one or two things. It could either be you're just so used to going after the average or below average women and you are accustomed to that, or you're just in a situation where you don't have no one to tell you this information and you don't know what else to do, so you just do what comes to your mind. So I thought I would make this video because it's a video that I wanted to make for a long time, and depending on how it gets uploaded, YouTube might let it stay up, YouTube might take it down. My other video was borderline, guideline rules of YouTube. So these types of videos, they could get taken down because someone could see this, they could get offended. And it's like, and you see, I got the idea from Boogie C Productions on YouTube. He made a video saying that a lot of guys don't know how to do the burden of performance. And you see, that has something to do with guys not understanding there's not one type of sex. There's two types of sex. I might even go as far as to say there's three types of sex. If you looked at the last video where I talked about the rules, well, this is probably another one of those rules that I didn't mention in that last video, because I was going to take one of those rules and turn it into a video, which you're clearly watching. So I'll come back with another self-improvement video, and that one's going to be if you're introverted and why you're having such a hard time in the dating scene. Because pickup artists and dating coaches don't want to talk about if you're introverted and why you have such a hard time trying to attract female attention. See, they'll gloss over that in their 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour seminar and won't even explain, if you're introverted, how does that help or hurt your chances in the dating game. And since they don't like to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it. I mean, you got all these other guys who got more views and more subscribers, but they're not touching on what if you're introverted and you have such a hard time trying to do what? Trying to get into the dating game. So I guess I got to be the one to talk about the good and the bad if you're introverted, because you might get some people who might watch this and say, well, I'm introverted. Well, give me some pointers. And it ain't me giving you pointers. It's me just giving you straight common sense. You may not like the truth. The truth might hurt. But like they said in the X-Files, the truth is out there. And guess what? I got to tell you the truth, because if you don't learn this information, and I'm telling you, if you don't learn this, then you go end up like one of those guys on the news that they talk about all the time. And this information is never told. Pickup artists and dating coaches, they know this information. They just don't talk about it. And if they do, they charge too much money for you to learn this information. You got to be able to figure this out, that when I tell it to you, it should make sense. It's common sense. It's not a secret. No books, no DVDs, no 2, 3, 4 hour nonsense seminars. I'm giving it to you raw, uncut, true information for free, not even charging you no money. I don't make no money in these videos, okay? I don't make no money in these videos. I ain't getting no cents, no dime, nothing. I'm trying to give you the truth for free and try to help you understand what is the difference between just sex and great sex. Some of you will like the content of this video. Some of you will be angry and upset. But by the end of the day, it's not a woman bashing video. It's more of a self-conscious video. It's more of you thinking about how to get you to look at yourself and see the perspective on when they say these things, what does it really mean?